spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and the innovative influencers of our time. I'm your host, Christopher Wotecki, and today we're catching up on a very dear friend of the show, Robbie Hunt. If you've been with us for a while, you know that Robbie has worked very hard with us and closely at Serious Joy and has joined us here before in the show to talk about astrology and spiritual growth. Well, now she's stepped fully into her path, now as a metaphysical minister, and she's an astrologer behind Bite Size Astrology. This is where she shares her practical guidance you can use in everyday life. It's truly bite-sized and brilliant. Today, we're talking about what it means to be a metaphysical minister. I say that 5 times. How her faith shows up in her work, and why Pluto in Aquarius and the astrology of 2026 and beyond are such powerful turning points for humankind. So please welcome my dear friend, Step 22, Grandmaster Aquarius, Robbie Hunt.
Hey there, Christopher, my dear friend. Also, I hope you're doing well tonight.
I am actually, yeah. I feel pretty good. I'm looking forward to a weekend off.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, the energy's been kind of intense. I mean, this last, I don't know. Let's talk. The moons. This recent moon event seemed to be pretty intense. The full moon I'm talking about at 13 was, I found pretty intense. It squared the nodes, as you know. So it was for me. It was definitely has shaken the foundation of things. What about the metaphysical world?
In the metaphysical world, it has been that whole. Those are what 4 13-degree moons that we've got all in a row. So this was the second one that's just peeling off these layers and peeling off these layers, and so it's been a whole lot. At least in the people I've talked to over the past 24 hours, people trying to make them believe one thing when they know, no. And so I think at this 13 degrees, it's a breakdown of, do you believe that or not? Is your mind just telling you something? Is everyone else's mind telling you something?
Yeah.
Or are you going to stand in your beliefs? And we're going to be tested on that 2 more times with those full moons at 13. So, go ahead and just get yourself ready for it. But for me personally, I think I just found myself answering a lot of 911 text. People who are some of my regular clients, like, oh my God, I'm going through this or this is happening. So I was in a bit of triage with a couple of people, and I'm happy to do so. I'm not complaining, but that was kind of what my full moon was about.
I had profound conclusions. Because I have Chiron in the 9th, which for those who don't know means I have issues with beliefs. That's where my core issues are, and I finally figured out what I didn't know. I think in the big picture of things, or what I wasn't paying attention to. So for me, it was an awakening and a breakthrough. But I had gone through breakdown prior to it, which is usually how it works. I usually break down before the event, so that I'm ready and on call for those breakdowns. And a lot of people did go through breakdowns. I mean, I got a person staying here, person got in a car accident, person went to jail, so I was helping someone out with bail, so it was intense. Yeah, it was intense. But that's what we're here to do as light workers, but I think the next one, that was like a reality check with our thoughts. Cancer will be a reality check with our feelings. And then we'll have Aquarius will be, I guess, a reality check. Right? That's probably when we transition to the new dimension, whatever that is.
Yeah. Look, 13 with Pluto and Aquarius right now isn't easy. 13s and 22s are just not easy. So, and we're in for 20 years of that. So, look, we're at the point in the amusement park where the whole thing is where it says you got to be this tall to do the ride. Right. Okay, you're tall enough. Get on the ride. Get on the ride. That way, none of this stuff will come as a shock to you.
Yeah. And it's true because of Pluto and Aquarius, you can add zeros behind the numbers. Like it just makes it to 100 or whatever. Pretty intense. Well, for those who may not know, we've worked together for a long time. Really, you're, I think, our first hire at Serious Joy, actually.
I was.
Content, yeah, first writer. And you recently made a shift, leaving the company to focus on your astrology, almost leaving. I mean, you still work with us on Astro Mingle, which is awesome. Not Astro Mingle, but what is it? Mega Monthly. Thank you, all these damn titles. But what what inspired your decision now, to make that leap now and go after your personal brand now, your life's work?
A couple of things. Um, with Pluto moving further into Aquarius,
Mhm.
but also with this big conjunction of Saturn and Neptune that's happening in February, and
Mhm.
then Uranus moving into Gemini. Those are some places where people are, I think, finally going to start being honest about how they really feel about elements of faith.
Mm.
And they're going to have the courage to act on what they've been sitting in church and thinking and feeling for 20, 30, 40 years.
Mhm.
I know that I myself, when I was 8, I can remember sitting in church and listening and looking up at my mother and just kind of saying to my mom, I don't think they have this right. My mother, type of thing. So this is a good time to stand forth and let people know, look, there's been a group of us who've been doing it for a while. There were people who were doing it before me. So it's an opportunity now to be a way shower and to give people the vocabulary that they need. So people have been sitting there looking at things like the Bible, other kinds of sacred texts, and they read these things, they hear the stories, they look at the history, and they just know some of it just doesn't work together. But they don't know, and they don't know the history, they don't have the vocabulary. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not here to bash religion. I'm here to show where it has been hijacked, it's been compromised, it's been corrupted. And that is what Pluto and Capricorn showed us about so many things, government and academia and education, where
Yeah.
all those things were corrupted. It didn't corrupt them, it showed the corruption. And
Mhm.
so I'm not here to tell you that your favorite religion or your faith is corrupted, but it has strayed so much from its original intention. This is the time to start getting it back on track. And
Mm.
this is the lifetime that I came in to finally start doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, for instance, it's Yeshua, not Jesus, right? I mean, they're
Ish.
along with Yeshua. Okay, so they are. We're praying to the wrong name. I mean, does the prayer get there? Is it some guy named Jesus in heaven getting all these prayers? You know what I mean? He's getting bombarded every day. It's like Jesus,
Sitting
but
there drinking a margarita.
get some gold. Yeah. I mean, it's like there's a lot of. I mean, it seems to me, and I'm just gonna say, it's like it seems to me Satan was a church. Like, in times I'm talking about, it was formed with Constantine, and that whole rebranding. It seems like the darker powers actually started it.
Well, look, especially when you talk about Christianity, but you can't leave out Buddhism, Hinduism, you can't leave out Islam, you can't leave out Astro-Zoroism, you can't leave
Mm.
out any of these big religious structures without looking at two things. There's always been a good intent that someone took off track,
Mm.
where they could find that they could use the good intent for themselves, for
Mhm.
power. And that is always what corrupts things, is when it gets off track. If you think about where Pluto is in Aquarius now, well, this was the founding of the United States. If you just look at the core philosophy of what the United States was founded on, great ideas, heretical ideas, actually. The fact that you don't belong to a monarchy, you don't belong to the church, you don't belong to a landlord, you don't belong to those things. So that was a great idea with a lot of good intention, but it didn't get implemented very well, because what starts happening? Power. Power of, if we're going to count these people, if we're going to do this, what do we lose? What do we gain? And so there was a whole group of people and a whole gender that got left out of a lot of the founding of this country. And so power does that. And it does it to everything that it touches. And so to think that it hasn't done that to our religious foundations, that's just living in fantasy land, to not think that it would not touch those.
Yeah, but grandma still made me go to church.
Yeah.
So it's like there's still some sort of worry or fear there. I mean, you call yourself a metaphysical minister. That's what's also interesting about this. And I think a lot of people have heard this for the first time. How would you describe that term? What does that mean?
Well, if I am completely honest, I am a metaphysical Christian minister.
Oh,
I many times don't use Christian because it'll trigger, it'll get people upset. But I'm starting to use it more and more because I need to be authentic with who I am.
yeah.
But let's go back and just look at what the beginning of all of these faith systems really have been. They've been metaphysical.
Mm-hmm.
When the Buddha sat under the tree and got his enlightenment,
Mm.
when Krishna got his enlightenment, when Jesus, Yeshua, got his enlightenment, it all kind of happened the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And they all came up with the core principles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there came a time where we started asking these masters, how did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Because the masters wanted to show us how so we could do it. They never
Mm-hmm.
wanted to keep that to themselves. And that is metaphysical. Meta meaning beyond the physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people like Ishawa would teach and teach in parables, much of what they were trying to do is just get you to act a certain way and then explain why it worked later on.
Mm-hmm.
If they explained how it worked early on, what would we be doing? I know what I would be doing, dissecting it, trying to figure it out. The contrary part of me going, no, no, no. So it's a bit how our parents raise us. They
Mm-hmm.
tell you, look both ways before you cross the street. Do this, don't do that. And it's later on that we come to understand what that's all about.
Right.
Well, all of the major religions have the mystics. They have the mystics, the people who get back to what those original origins were before structures and dogmas and dictates and all of that. And so we've had tons of mystics in the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church after the split there when Martin Luther did what he did. And when you really sit and read the Bible and look for those things in at least those Gospels and a few of the other books that Paul didn't write, then,
felt bad.
then you see that. So I'm a metaphysical minister, and that I don't need necessarily the teachings of Ishawa to talk to you about that. I can pull from the Buddha, or I can pull from over here, or I can pull from my grandma Ruth, or I can pull from the step system.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of metaphysics. That way, if you have had a rough time with Christianity and you don't want to hear that word, I don't have to go there.
Right.
You know, I can go in all kinds of places. And so one of the things that I really got to do, Christopher, once you brought me on board with Serious Joy, was to see how metaphysical the step system is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when you just watch how it flows, when you see how it unfolds in people's lives, now you see you don't need a dogma. It is a law. This is how the universe works.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we've figured out a small portion of it. Think about what we haven't figured out yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's I mean, well, I think what you're saying is, let's go way back. I think the Earth was in 5D when it opened up for business. It was in 5D, and the human beings were in 5D, and they were put, from what I understand, in Atlantis, crafted from the ground up to be 5D from the beginning, with taught to how to live a perfect life, like literally. And they were one metaphysically with the universe, and that's the power that Atlantis took advantage of and just destroyed itself with, was that metaphysical power. Would you agree with that? I mean,
Yeah.
crystals and crystal powers and using those things would be part of the metaphysical realm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The invisible power, what's above. And so, and here we are. So we're upon the age of Aquarius, where the knowledge is destined to come back. People like you are here to bring it. And, I do think we need this transition from Christianity, into let's say Christian metaphysics, because Christ consciousness is actually metaphysical energy, is it not?
It is. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the very definition of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a person. A person wore it like a coat,
Mhm.
but that's it. Right. It is a force of the universe. So yeah, I think this is the time where we need to learn how the magic behind the stage or behind the curtain. Yeah. And
Well,
so it's a
and
field that needs to explode.
and remember what he really ultimately did. He showed that there is the possibility to have mastery over even death. That
Yeah.
the physical, once you understand how the physical works, look at how you can build and rebuild with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. And so, it doesn't mean that you and I tomorrow are going to be walking on water and walking through walls. But if we don't start somewhere, our understanding of how to not bend the physical to our will, but to work with it, and thus it does serve us,
Mm-hmm.
we will never get there if we don't start somewhere with some of this.
It's serving us now.
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's serving us now in the most mundane way. And that's where Serious Joy is, I think, focused on, is that how it's serving your daily life, how to use basic principle metaphysics of your body as the magnet, let's say, and tuning that magnet to the frequency you want, so you draw on what you want. We're the beginning stages of that, I think, as well. It's inevitable.
Mhm.
All healing modalities will probably be metaphysical from this point forward, wouldn't you say? Probably vibrational medicine.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw something. I'm not endorsing this. I don't even know what the company was, but I've been seeing these ads that come up on Instagram every once in a while where there's a group of people who are now touting linen sheets because the vibration of linen sheets is so high that it helps with the healing. And that
Wow.
for the longest time, hospitals had linen sheets. And then when so much of this stuff started changing in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and we started going to a more Western medicine corporate model, those sheets were taken out of our hospital beds. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't done any validation of it. But yeah, Christopher, you said it, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something like that, that frequency is going to be the new currency.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I feel so. Yeah. It is
Mhm.
now anyways, because the person who can stay on the clock longest has the best frequency.
Mm.
It's already turning into, literal power and whatnot. Well, how would metaphysics differ from traditional coaching or traditional preaching, if you will? Because one seems like learning how to fly and walk out of your body, and one seems like hellfire damnation.
Because metaphysics is for the individual, that other stuff is for the masses.
Okay, I gotcha. So
I mean that, and I don't mean to be a smartass about it, but
no,
look,
yeah,
when you go to a lot of the rah, um, Tony Robbins, this, it's for the masses, and it doesn't mean that it's bad. And look, sometimes we have to teach a group of people, and you got to find the common denominator there to talk about. But not everyone is someone that needs the rah like that. Sometimes they need the personal sitting down.
mm,
And so metaphysics becomes incredibly personal. While
mm,
it is a universal principle,
right.
how it applies in your world is going to take into fact your natal chart, your karma, the people around you, the period of time that you're living in. So metaphysics is incredibly individual, and you get to play with it that way as well.
Mhm.
Whereas all this other stuff is dictated by somebody else's schedule, somebody else's idea, all that other kind of stuff.
Mm, mm. Interesting, because the 11th house is Aquarius, which is
Mhm.
which is society and the big picture. And so what you're saying is the big picture becomes a small picture, which is
Yeah.
that back to the fifth house, which is that this is at the end of the day. That my thing is, right now we're asleep in heaven, and we're having
Mhm.
this network dream right now together. And so it really is all about the individual, although it seems not.
Right.
At times. Yeah, interesting. So how do you interpret Christ's message through metaphysics? Like, what changes there? Is he like a door-to-door snake oil charmer? No. How's the story change, you think, if it was from a metaphysical perspective?
Well, it depends upon where you get your information.
Okay.
So One of the things that I had really started to do, and my quote unquote free time and really geeking out when I first started working with Serious Joy, was that I was starting to do some pretty extensive studying of the Bible. Now,
Mm,
I went to seminary at a metaphysical Christian church. That
mm.
took 7 years.
Wow.
But how we studied the Bible was based upon how it would be used in a metaphysical Christian church. And we we studied a bit about the history, but if the history of the Bible and how it came to be what it is now is this big, what we studied was about this much of it.
Mm,
When you study from those original ancient texts to how we got to where we are, to then the Dead Sea Scrolls, to then all of the modern versions of the Bible that we have now. I mean, if I had enough bookcase space over here, I could easily have 100 different versions of the Bible, some more Catholic oriented, some more Protestant oriented. The versions of the Old Testament that we have with the Talmud, the Torah, all of this kind of stuff. So it really kind of depends on whose version of the newspaper you're reading.
right.
And don't we even see that in today's culture? This newspaper reports it this way, this newspaper reports it this way, and we'll look at it and go, call it, a political leaning or something like that. So if you really want to get down to it, it means that you have to get down to some of that original stuff written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, and understand even the stuff that was written in Greek, why it was written in Greek and not Hebrew and Aramaic. Greek was the language of commerce. Everybody knew Greek because it was a way for everyone to communicate, kind of like
Mhm.
English
Yeah.
is the official language in the aviation industry.
Hmm.
But some of those concepts in Hebrew and Aramaic don't translate well to Greek. But then
Mm,
the Greek goes to Latin, and then the Latin goes to English. And here
mm,
we go. Something that is a cultural concept in Hebrew totally becomes something else in English.
mm,
When the Bible was translated by King James, the intent was to make the Bible readable, put it into modern language. So when you read it in the old KJV, where it says, in the red letter edition, Jesus's words are in red letter. Verily, verily, I say unto you. I'm telling you, the man didn't speak that way, you
right.
know. So if you're going to interpret, you got to start from as close to the beginning as you can
Hmm.
and realize that a lot of how we interpret stuff is based upon what we think
Yeah.
of what we anticipate was the objection or the objective of
Hmm.
how things were done. And look, archaeologists, they get pegged every once in a while that whenever there's something they don't see, oh, it must have been an ancient fertility rite. That's what it was. It was an ancient fertility rite, you know. And we do that with translating these scrolls as well. So a lot of it is really what makes metaphysical sense.
Mm,
That's kind of what it gets down to.
right. It's the physics. I mean, it's physics, but it's metaphysics. Physics we can't see or study right now.
Hmm.
So you say something like, Jesus in most movies. I won't read the Bible this lifetime. I told myself, and I'm not going to, because I have in past lives. I'm done. But that said, Jesus speaks out like Heavenly Father all the time. Do you think today would be like, heavenly physics? Would he have made it that cold? Do you think, or
No, because father in Aramaic is an honorific for both men and women. So
interesting?
the term is Abba. Sometimes mother is called Ima, but it's Abba. And many times, if a woman is being honored, she will also be called Abba. So it's an honorific. It isn't about gender.
Huh? That explains ABBA in the '70s.
Mhm. Mm.
All right.
I've never put that together. Oh my God.
That's funny. Yeah, I know, it's funny. So, so wisely, I mean, you left, we were kicking out the door. and coming up with the story of you going to metaphysics. Just kidding. We no, but we talked about that. I think this is like, I think church is about to break down. I feel organized religion is about to break down. So whatever they find in that Vatican basement is going to be a problem. I just know it. But I also just intuitively can see Christians, not content. Like it's not working, right? Like they're not, they're whatever it is, they haven't gotten it. Surely there's moments where there's a miracle happens and things get kind of rejuvenated, but for the most part, it just feels like we're going through the motions. And so I think this might be a huge, opportunity with customers, if you will. It's like, we know there's a magic to the universe, and these explanations are not explaining it. And so I feel like, what you're going to be doing is, doing a lot of conversion. I don't want to call it that, but ultimately there's people who've been hurt and disillusioned big time, right? I'm imagining they're going to be unhappy campers, right? And I wonder, how do you hold space for that going in? I mean, what's your strategy? What's your step zero strategy?
Oh, number one, my step zero strategy is I'm not there to convert anyone.
Right. So they have to come to you.
That's my first one. So the strategy is this. Live it and let your life be an example of it. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately people will look at it and go, why am I so miserable and you happy? Right. And it seems like you're doing something. What are you doing? Can you show me, teach me, educate me, that type of thing? The thing that really is happening so much right now, and it has been for the last 15 years or so, pretty much ever since Pluto went to Capricorn, all of the churches, Catholic, Protestant, Judaism, all of these churches are making big splits between the traditional and the new, the Orthodox, Reformed, whatever you want to call all of those breaks. And you're seeing where current cultural ideas are part of what's breaking it up. And so it started, my goodness, some of this stuff started with when women got the vote in the 1920s. Okay, well, that means that women should be able to vote in the church elections. And, no, you can't, you don't get to do that. And then when we had war protests in the 60s, well, what does the Bible say about that? Are we going to endorse that as a church or not? Then when the feminist movement started up again in the 60s and the 70s, all of that affected stuff. And then when we started introducing the gay community and then all of everything else, and now women in church leadership, what you are finding is bigger and bigger splits. And churches that were mainstays in a community, now people can't get along with each other, or the home church is telling them that they've got to start doing this or this. And this is a small, traditional, rural community. And no, you're not going to tell us to do that. In the Methodist community, there are a lot of places where the churches are being told, you've got to start accepting this and this and this. And they say no. And so they say, okay, well then get out of your building. What do you mean get out of the building? This is our building. No, it belongs to the association. And like the Methodists are not the only ones. Lutherans, Episcopalians, Protestants, Presbyterians are all doing some of that. So the real strategy here is not to get involved in any of that, to simply show that there is a love that formed the cosmos. There is a greater architect. There is a grand design that works in a certain way. And how it works here on this earth plane in physicality can be described in actually very basic ways, and that traditions older than Christianity knew how to describe that. And that all that really happened with the Buddha, or what happened with Yeshua, was that they had an enlightenment experience, and the only way that they knew how to communicate it was through their culture.
Right. Yeah,
the
totally.
same way I would do it. I'm down here from the South. I'm a child of stock car racing and living in the country. So
Right.
I'd explain my enlightenment experience with motor oil, dirt tracks,
Right.
biscuits, and gravy.
Right.
You know,
Holy,
so
holy gravy.
holy gravy. Yes, and the way that my grandmother Ruth made it. Oof, yes, yes.
Oh, totally.
So
Yeah.
so the strategy is to not even focus on them
Yeah.
or what they're doing, because there's also a lot of people going back to traditional church as well.
I
And
know. That's very interesting, isn't it? Like,
well,
yep,
and I think that the reason that a lot of people are doing that is that they've got some karma they've got to finish with
with the
that.
church. With the church. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
people just refuse it. A lot of clients, I can see the religious damage in their past lives in their chart. And I'm like, so, did you hate church growing up? Like, we didn't go. Church wasn't a thing at all. I was like, oh. So some clients just blocked it completely. Those are clients who are coming back now, right? So
Hmm. Yeah.
they skipped it and they chose not to do it in their childhood. And some did in the childhood, and now they're realizing it was a past life thing that the childhood was just working through. It's really kind of interesting. Okay.
Well, and I mean, I can name a number of personal friends who are going back to traditional religions, and some of them, the ones that they were originally raised in, and then they went and tried other things, but they're
Mm-hmm.
coming back. They're coming back home, and the thing is, for us, we can't judge that, and we can't say it's wrong. We
Right.
can't say that they're doing something that they shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be as loving about that. And if that is how they express God universe, then have at it. That's wonderful. It's
Right.
beautiful. And we should be happy that they have come with something that is touching their heart.
I don't think you get out of a lesson. One of the lessons of being human is that you can be duped and, to look at the wrong source of truth, right? The only right one being your heart. So if you haven't had that lesson yet, well, then sure, you'll sign up today for that. So the last best institutions to do that for you is to give away your power that way. What do you think about the difference now about people say they're spiritual, but they're not religious? Why do you think that's happening in our culture right now?
Well, number one, I think it's a catchphrase. I don't think a lot of people really understand what that means, because spiritual is a marketing term.
Mm.
Religious is a marketing term. If we really want to get down to it, I think what people are trying to say, I don't subscribe to only one faith. That's the more accurate way of putting it. And that I don't have a dogma.
Mm-hmm.
But
Polytheism.
yes. And so what they're trying to say is that I am not part of the political process with a lot of this stuff either.
Right.
And that I can pull from here, I can pull from there, all of that. But the catchphrase is I'm spiritual, not religious. But it becomes just a placeholder until you really understand what's the metaphysics, what's the energy behind what they're doing. And what they're saying is, I may have been raised this way, but golly, this, and this, I don't believe in it. And if I were to go there, I would have to constantly be in some kind of defense mode about it. And I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it defeats the purpose of being in the religion, being, the faith in the first place. You're trying to find your peace, your unity, your, brotherhood and sisterhood. So to go down that path is like, you already dealt with it from the church. Why do another 1,000 years with people? Right.
Right. Right.
All right. That's a good little place to pause. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back with Robbie Hunt, our metaphysical minister and friend to the show.
Happy holidays! I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. Sichi makes a wonderful gift for the holidays. Enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual Sichi skin and hair care product.
Happy holidays!
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or again previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or again just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding onto residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.
We're here with Robbie Hunt, metaphysical minister, and I guess a veteran of Serious Joy, and alumni, if you will. He helped us grow the step system to what it is today. And, one of the things that's been interesting is, you've watched me from the very beginning. You're one of the few people that caught me early. And, when I started nearly 20 years ago, I was afraid to say God because people were so damaged from religion. My empathic and, intuition was like, oh, don't bring in these words. You're going to be tossed out, and now, now we've come a long way since that. It's like, is God's okay again? I'm not embarrassed to say I'm an astrologer. A lot of things have changed. What's your take right now on what's happening with like traditional religious institutions at large, like the Catholic Church and whatnot? We talked about them maybe not lasting, but what's happening really at the core? Do you think what will happen?
You always use the term God universe, and I got that from you. When I heard you say that, I was like, yep, got it. So I've been saying that as long as I heard it come out of your mouth. So that's been a long time. The churches are dealing with what a lot of business and economics and government is dealing with, and that is a shifting base. And if you think about it, there are so many businesses out there that had a formula, it worked for a long time, and now it doesn't work anymore. Restaurants, the hospitality industry, sports, other kinds of businesses, the way they did it even 10 years ago doesn't work now. Even Starbucks has had to go and change some things because the old formulas aren't working. Well, the old formulas aren't working in the religion and church industry either.
Yeah.
And you started seeing this many, many years ago, 20, 30 years ago, when a lot of churches started having their traditional service and then their contemporary service. So if you wanted the traditional service that was maybe just the Latin Mass, or it was just the piano and no other instruments, you got your butt there at 8:30 in the morning. But if you wanted the more contemporary one, get there at 11. We're going to have a band on stage, and you can dress a little bit more casually. So that's when a lot of that started. But the base is shifting again. And people are getting pulled by all these things, and especially things that the church told them don't do.
Right.
Don't do yoga.
Astrology.
Don't do astrology. Don't do that stuff. But they're finding that those things are answering questions, helping with their health, making them happier.
Right.
But yet their church, their faith is still a part of their world, a big part of their life. And how do you dissect yourself from that? A lot of people don't want to, but the church doors are going, nope, you don't bring that in here. And I mean, one of the big ones is yoga. And there's a resurgence now of the church, many of them going, nope, that tore this church apart. So we're not doing that anymore. No, that isn't what tore the church apart. And so it's that they don't really have a bead on their customer base right now. And so they're doing all kinds of things. Pope Leo just the other day finally made friends with the Eastern Orthodox Church, because that schism happened like in 1054. That's what created the Western and the Eastern Church. It's a long story, but now they met the patriarch of the Eastern and the Pope of the Western. They had a nice little ceremony. They said, "We love you. We welcome you into our fellowship." They're still separate churches, but we're not going to come hunting you anymore. And even in some of the presentation that he made comment that we're not going to go and remember that history anymore. We're not going to make that part of our history anymore. Yeah.
Race. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting in that regard. I think the biggest difference I see is that organized religion teaches you to worship, and metaphysics teaches you to be God.
Bingo.
That's the big core difference. That they lied and they wanted to make people dependent on them, like McDonald's does our French fries. It's like it's the same sort of strategy of control. And they moved to Jesus' birthday to Capricorn because that's what they intended to be. He was a Capricorn, not just a Capricorn, but a very young Capricorn, step 3 or 4, right? Like,
well, part of why they moved Christmas, they moved that birthday, quote unquote, to December 25th. First off, they didn't do that until, what was a pope who did that? There was a pope who did that. There was a lot of Jewish stuff that corresponded with, but then there was also a lot of astrological stuff that corresponded with. But there is an edict, and it's based on a whole bunch of other stuff, that said we will celebrate Christmas. It was never to say that was Jesus's birthday, but to recognize him and his divinity and all of that. So it was never his birthday. That ended up happening probably more modern era as a marketing tool.
No kidding. Just like Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus. That's interesting. You've also mentioned shifts within the lightworker community, which is us, right? What trends and growing pains you see among us?
I think that we are finding out who is there for the light and who's just there for the work. And what I mean by that is this. A lot of people have gotten into this field because if you did it right, it pays well. All right. You get a big enough following, you do this, you do that, and you can have a pretty influential IG channel. You could do this, you can do that, and you can make some bank with it. And so I think a lot of people got into it to do that work, but you can't do that work and not expect that the light won't hit you, meaning shine on who you are. And if there's some inauthenticity there, that is going to show up. And this isn't about light workers being perfect. It isn't about them not having some flaws. It isn't about any of that, but it's the transparency of it, And so a lot of them, and I'm going to exaggerate here, a lot of them were saying, look, I can walk on water. I can walk through walls. And no, they can't. And we're seeing that. It's no different than the downfall of certain televangelists over the years who got caught, cheating on their wife, taking money from the offering plates, all that other kind of stuff. So I felt that Pluto and Aquarius was going to be one of those things that was going to show that, because Aquarius just knows you don't belong there.
Right, totally. Yeah, the vibrations don't match. These two frequencies don't match.
Yep.
I find that when I look at light workers who really know the spiritual stuff, they have over the past lifetimes been in like monasteries. They've been, in these remote locations, and their ego development has been minimal. And so although they're great at their spiritual stuff, their ego development has been minimal. They weren't cowboys. They didn't fight wars. They didn't do that stuff. And so like you can't skip out a gym. And so there's a little bit of power. They go straight to the typical ego fall that we've been seeing for 2,000 years with traditional religion, you know what I mean? Where you get a little bit of power, the ego just gets drunk on it and does not know how to, handle it with humility. And so you don't get out of it,
I agree. And a lot of what I have seen in some of the people that I've worked with on a regular basis, it has been trying to let them know, look, I'm not bullshitting you. This is what I see. This is what your chart says. And the reason that you're unhappy is because it keeps coming to you and you're spending all this energy pushing it away. That's why you're tired. That's why you're broke. That's why all this stuff. Instead of just sitting there and acknowledging who you are. So, yeah, I mean, there's the people who said that they were one thing and they were not. And then there's the people over here who said they were one thing and they're not. And so both of these are dealing with an amount of suffering that really is totally unnecessary.
Yeah. Or they're dealing with the hash slash. I'm regular. This, that, this. And that's like, guys, pick 2, maybe 3 that stops. Like the forever, every skill you have listed on your resume, on your website. Having to have it all there so instead of just saying, I'm me and get to know me, I'm pretty cool. What do you think you've been doing this for a while now with Serious Joy? I mean, you've always been a minister, I guess, on your own, but not really having your own, following that at that time, learning the practice of it. Then Serious Joy, you got kind of your own, you got a following, with us. And so how would you recommend light workers stay grounded, as they come into their abilities and following?
It's going to sound simplistic. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. I did a reading for somebody about a year ago. And this woman told me, she said, well, actually, I'm more Merlin. I went, you are? Okay. Now, how the hell do I know? I don't know. But Merlin has certain capabilities. Merlin can do certain things. Merlin is an archetype and an energy as well. And none of that did I see evidence of. And so I think it's very important for us to say, this is what I am doing very, very well. And this is what I am not doing very well. And so right now, I'm not going to teach it. I'm not going to try to take you on as a client with it. I need to get a degree of my own, what would the word be? Give that to me. Give me that word.
Experience.
Experience or competence with it.
Yeah.
And so I tell people who are just getting started in astrology, especially if they're going to do step astrology, if you ran someone's chart and you only gave them their sun, moon, and ascendant, but you explained those degrees. You explained that 8-degree Leo and why they're not like other Leos, because that's so Saturn ruled. If you simply told them that, do you realize how you would set them free? And they would think that you were the greatest because you stayed within what you had played with, what you knew. And so I think that what I would tell people is give yourself the chance to grow. And as you grow, own what you have built. Do that Taurus thing. Okay. You planted the seeds, you cared for the seedlings, you go pick the fruit. That's step 28. Pick the fruit, but then do step 29. Use it. Use it.
Yeah.
And allow yourself the process of fitting in. Every other profession does it. You don't go to 2 years of medical school and then get to go into the surgery theater. You don't do those things. We all learn. Be honest about your learning, honest about your process, honest about where you're stumbling, and the rest will take care of itself when you are honest about it. The solutions you seek when you're honest about it. To say, man, I am a horrible administrative assistant for myself, and that's why I can't get my emails out, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. That's Robbie's weakness. So that is, I think, the thing that all people who stand in front of anyone and have a degree of influence or authority or power, they have to have that kind of conversation.
I think it's well said. And I tell them too, if I may add on to your wisdom, you're only going to attract people that know as much or less than you. You're not going to attract someone who knows more than you. You're just not. They won't be in the audience. They'll have a sense that you're not for them. So you don't have to be anything more than you are at any stage, and your audience grows with you. My audience has grown with me. We've grown together. In fact, we grew away from our basics to the point where, like, oh gosh, we're not teaching the basics anymore. We've just gotten so lost in our path, down this pathway. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And also, once you start doing these lessons, right, as soon as you hear your first feedback, how you change someone's life, I mean, that has always grounded me. Like, oh, geez, this is not a TV show on YouTube. That was a surprise to me too, actually. Even though I set out to help people, like help them, I felt it on the sense of like helping them with their groceries. I didn't realize, they're coming out of horrible situations of abuse and things like that. It really, to me, it humbled, kept me, I wouldn't say kept humble, but certainly kept me in check, those types of things, just the sharing amongst the two parties.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tag on to that because there is an incredibly important piece of counsel that you gave me when you came back from your sabbatical. Mm. You and I were talking, just a one-on-one with you and I, just about what it had been like while you were gone. Mm. And I told you that one of the things that had been a challenge for me was that when I was doing readings and the camera would come on, that people were like, oh my God, Robbie, oh, I've been waiting. And how uncomfortable that made me. And you said to me, don't take that away from them. They love you. And this is their opportunity to let you know how you've influenced their world and for you to know that you've done a good job. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And it completely changed everything. Mm. And so that was some incredible wise counsel that you gave me. So thank you. Mm-hmm. But it has helped me see that if I'm doing my job right, people are going to report those stories. And it doesn't matter whether you're building houses, repairing cars. If someone comes back and keeps telling you the transmission isn't doing any better, something's not right. But when they drive out and they put that 5-star review about how you fixed their transmission when no one else can, it's the same thing that you and I do.
It's true. And I think, honestly, what people don't understand, this is where the argument with self-love. I think people have a hard time with self-love because the church in particular was driving, take care of your neighbor before you take care of yourself kind of thing. And I think the church wanted to just wear everybody out, giving stuff away. So it was a good strategy. But so people feel bad about self-love, where they feel they have a hard time with it. They get confused with selfishness and self-love. And the truth of the matter is that when you are filled with love, the first thing you want to do is share it. Mm-hmm. You don't want to keep it. It's so incredibly like, you just like you give a baby like him, nom nom. The baby's like, you eat now. Like, you can see a child too, share immediately the good food, like, it's just something naturalness. So that sharing is the caring, right?
Yeah,
sharing
it is.
Caring. Yeah, it totally is. It's amazing. What about now with this? We have you and I both. We have our monthly show, Mega Monthly Report, and we cover the whole month together. And we see a storm coming, right? We see a storm coming, and what role do you think prayer actually has in these types of things? Are we moving to where prayer, like, can you really pray for someone else?
Yeah, it's just how you do it.
Okay. Go on.
All right. So let's say this. What you don't get to do is violate someone's will.
Yeah.
And so people will say, will you pray for my child? My child is an alcoholic or a drug addict. Will you pray that they stop? No. Mm. If they call me and ask me, if they say to their others, hey, will you put me on your prayer train, on your prayer basket? Okay, right. When that happens, you've got consent. You don't get to pray against someone's will, because that means that all of the folks, well-intended, in the old Southern Baptist church that I grew up with could be praying for me to come back home. So that's the first thing. And when you see someone who is in distress, and, this can happen, you see something on the news, or something's going on with your neighbor, but you haven't spoken with them, you can always send love. You can, if you are an energy healer, you can send Reiki, you can do all of that, because those energies will not violate. And especially something like Reiki, it will go where it can, and if it doesn't, it'll go somewhere else. So it works. But if you have someone's buy-in, then what exactly? Are you wanting just relief from the headache? Are you looking, what is it? Be more specific with it, and then you can. But I think that one of the things that actually makes a community is when we do pray for others, when we pray for the people that we don't know, when we pray for the people that we disagree with, when we pray for our neighbors, when we pray for the politicians that we don't like. That just takes everything to another level, and it takes you to another level. So prayer, yeah, it's a big deal, and it's something that I promote.
There you go. I think it's great. And I actually can say when I was in the hospital, I felt the prayers of the people. I felt incredible energy always pouring into me. So I do think that we make withdrawals out of our spiritual bank account and send energy there,
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, this energy's there. If they want to use it, great. If not, put in that lotto ticket over there and, repurpose that, God. We only have a couple minutes left. Actually, we could talk all day, you and I, and we do usually. I want to have here, two things. One, Pluto in Aquarius. You are a Grandmaster Aquarius, step 22 Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius for the first time since the American Civil Revolution, excuse me. And so it's a big deal. And it's the only thing that really forces innovation and ascension is Aquarius, I would say. The only stairwell up all the 12 zodiac signs. What do you feel, we should be on the lookout for, especially next year, with, now that Pluto is in Aquarius for good?
Specialization.
Mm.
Because it's Pluto that is there to do at its basic. I mean, Pluto does a lot, but at its basic, death, transformation, rebirth.
Mm.
Well, if it's going to do that in Aquarius, a sign of the individual, the sign of getting rid of the status quo, the sign of technology and innovation, then it's going to get into these big things that are too big to survive. We don't have the resources to keep feeding them. We don't have the resources to feed big pharma, to feed big ag, big medicine. We don't have the resources to feed them. And that giant just keeps getting bigger and bigger and wanting more and more.
Mm.
And so specialization. So it isn't about just being a doctor. It's about being a doctor in a particular area with a particular methodology and a particular kind of patient.
Mm-hmm.
It's specialization, even down to the kind of astrology. That's where you are way ahead with the step system.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, farming, anything. I'm trying to get people out of these big institutions and to try to get into more small things. We need these things on community levels, regional levels, state, all of these things. It doesn't matter whether you're here, Europe, Asia, it's the specialization. I think that's the big thing of Pluto and Aquarius.
Especially with AI,
Yep.
I think because when AI has covered all the basics, the only things that make you unique is something AI did not focus on for a long time. It's like we go from this wide appeal with a shallow relationship to a small appeal with a deep relationship, to the customer, I think, and to the institution. That's interesting. And individuality is what Aquarius is about. So as always, I think you're right on the mark. How can people work with you, Robbie? Is the church open?
Well, here's what we got. I do have 2 offers. So I see the first one there. If you want to get a gift certificate for yourself or for anyone else to do a reading with me, I have never discounted my services before. So I'm offering 22% since I'm a 22 Aqua, but only through December 26th. And if you use that code SJ2025, you can get that discount. So see if that is something that you want. And, that's my bite-sized astrology stuff. But the thing that we've been talking so much about is Reverend Robbie. So I do have a website. It's reverendrobbie.com. It's only got one page on it right now. I don't have everything finished. I had some publicity photos I wanted to use, and those didn't turn out as well as I thought. So what I have as a special offer for everyone tonight is that I have a page of prayers. Now, this page will continue to add more prayers on it, but I have prayers for some of the things that people ask me the most about, the things that seem to be troubling a lot of people right now or they have questions about. You can go and scan that code, and you can go not only listen to those prayers, but you can download them and you can share them with others. I have them both in just spoken word, and then some that are, others that are with music. So I've done all of them. You can do just voice only, or you can do voice and music. Some people, the music distracts them. Some it helps. You make the choice there. And I will be adding some to them. But this is a prayer partnership. When I really started thinking about what I wanted to do with these prayers, is that they're a prayer partnership. And these will always be prayers that are at no charge. You can send them to people, and you can sit, and if you don't know the words, if you don't know how to say this, then just come and sit with me. Listen to the voice, connect with it, and train to it. And then you'll be in that prayer space. And then hopefully this helps you, and it even helps you get to your own prayer space. Prayer is something that intimidates the hell out of people. And it's easy once you know how. So those are what I'm offering. Go back to that page, because I'm going to be trying to upload new prayers every couple of days. I've got my big list here of the ones that I'm getting ready to work on, some that are even oriented by sign. So like if you are a Cancer, when I put the one up about properly placed compassion, the prayer to help me properly place my compassion, that might be a good one for you. So if you also think that there is a topic that it would be good for all of us to have a prayer in our back pocket for, then send me an email and let me know, and I will add that to my list.
You need about 5,000 kill Donald Trump prayers. No, but yeah, good.
Well, and look, and let me just also add one other thing. This helps us pray in these more affirming terms than hey, can we get rid of that person out of our government? Instead, how do I interact with this? What do I do with this? Because it's always us, right? It's us and how we respond. And I will say that I am working on where I would have some regular services. I'm not building a church. I'm not going to build a building. It's not that kind of thing. But a lot of people want to know, when am I going to hear your messages? Well, I'm getting all that ready. I'm getting the platform ready. And I mean, I've got domains. I've got all that stuff. It's just been a matter of getting the time to do it. I have a little bit more time, especially now with the holidays. And so that's a lot of what I'm working on. So I'll be there, and I'll let everyone know.
Well, when two or more gather at Robbie's website, yeah, it's the magical powers that comes to that. It's blasted with Intel processors and sends it on their way. I do think there's something really magical about that. You're taking advantage of circuitry and things in a way that before the dark had, but now the light is taking over as it always does.
Is that not what you did with astrology, Christopher?
I hope so.
You built a system around it, and that's kind of what I've done as well.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant work. I'm so glad to be your friend and work with you, and we're glad to be in alignment with you. Stay after here and backstage. Let's talk about a couple of things, and let me say goodbye to our folks for the week. Thank you, Robbie, for coming. Yay!
Yay! Thank you.
Come back on. We have whistlers in the audience. Well, folks, wow, really great stuff, actually. I'm so glad we were able to bring that on with her now, because a lot of people had, I think thought the worst and when she left. And I got to tell you that things have never been better at Serious Joy, in the sense of how we're coming into our hearts or our truth, and how we all have these assignments. When we came to form Serious Joy, it took very special people to bring it together. And so these people have more to give than just Serious Joy. So thank you for supporting Serious Joy. By the way, this is our last chance to be a part of our Mastering Self-Love course. This is going to last for 14 weeks. It's on Sundays. You get to meet people. You get to practice your love. You get to document how well you love yourself. Come on. You say you love yourself? Prove it. Let me see your spreadsheet. Let me see where you're documenting it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to document our self-love. We're going to look at the results. We're going to compare notes with one another. It's going to be a workshop. It's an empowering workshop to start your week off right on Sunday. So come on down, SeriousJoy.academy. Sign up for a 4-month journey. It's affordable. And it does come with 4 months of service too, of Serious Joy service, because I'm going to be sending you encouraging messages along the way. All right, friends, that's all we have for this Mingle. We'll be back in a week to mingle more. Until then, remember, we love you. Live, love, be. Serious Joy Academy is now offering gift certificates called Gifted Scholarships in 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year increments. This is the first time we've ever offered this. Serious Joy is the most accurate astrology service in the world. And now you can stun your loved ones with a spiritual mirror that helps them every day. Visit SeriousJoy.academy to make your purchase. That's SeriousJoy.academy. Available now.